Welcome students. Now we are going to study the last chapter of electromagnetic engineering, that is transmission lines. This is sixth chapter and we are going to apply the principles of electromagnetic waves in transmission lines. So let us start. What is a transmission line? You have seen this kind of images or this kind of sceneries whenever there are power stations or along the roads. So these are called as transmission lines. So these are used to transmit electrical power from generating substation to various distribution units, and they transfer huge amount of power, and those power is in terms of kilowatts or megawatts and so on. It transmits the wave of voltage and current from one end to another end. So power is in generally transmitted in terms of current or voltage parameters, and it is an electrical signal. The transmission line is made up of conductor having uniform cross section along the line. So you know that whenever we require to transmit voltage and or current, we require a conductor. So transmission line is nothing but conducting material, conducting line where we are going to transmit our required signals. And in this case, air is acting as insulating material or dielectric material between the two conductors. So in this diagram, you can see huge amount of lines are connected over these rods or the bars, and they transmit high amount of power. But signals are not always huge in size or huge in amount. They may have smaller signal. There may be some smaller signal with high frequencies. So what are the different types of transmission lines or the medias that are used to transmit the signal that we are going to consider? So in general, a transmission line consists of a dual conductor, two wires. One is a signal wire and probably the second one is ground wire. And that these lines act as transverse electromagnetic mode. They are acting in transverse electromagnetic mode because they are transmitting uh, transverse electromagnetic signals only, and waveguides for electromagnetic waves. So they guide the waves along these lines, and the waves must be transverse electromagnetic waves. And these simplest structures guide the wave. They are commonly used in microwave engineering, and they are known as waveguides there. So the waveguides are surface mounting devices, and they guide the waves uh, at higher frequency. And there may be some another transmission line type like optical fibers. They are also used to guide the waves in optical manner. So the signal in that case is a light signal. So in general, this figure shows a transmission line simple model where Vs is a source of generating voltage, Zs is impedance at source side, and these two conductors which are going parallel, these are called as transmission lines, and they are feeding this signal input signal Vs to the load, that is ZL. The load may be anything, that is bulb, motor and so on. So in between the source and load we require a transmission line. Now what are the different types of transmission line? So in this figure, let us see. First is two wire line. So simple two wire conductor that we generally use for electrical signals in our home appliances and so on. So these are called as two wire lines. The two wires may be separated by a dielectric material, which is generally a plastic or some kind of mica, etc. And so there are different figures available here for two wire line, which consist of only two conductors separated by some dielectric material. In some cases, there may be some coatings available, rubber coatings available, shields available in order to remove noise signals and so on. So the last figure shows the shielded two-wire transmission line. In the second row, we are going to see the coaxial cables. You know the coaxial cables are used for transmission of television signals nowadays. So these cables are known as coaxial cables. So there is an axial conductor at the center side, and it is wounded by a dielectric material or air, and then a plastic coating is there. So generally we see this kind of cables for television, for computer purposes. Most of the times it is used for television purposes, and it consists of a thin middle conductor. Then it has a polyethylene plastic coating and a copper branded outer conductor. So again the same thing, the copper branded outer conductor gives reduction from the noise, and again it is covered with some plastic black material. So these are known as coaxial cables, generally used for transmission of television signals or antenna signals. So these two wire transmission lines are used for antenna signals. In the old days, we have seen this kind of cables for our antenna. Then third category is microstrip. So microstrip is a surface mounting transmission line. It is just like seen in the first figure here. It is a strip of conducting metal, and it is bounded to a dielectric media, and depending upon the width and length of this microstrip, it transmits particular amount of frequency signals. There are some different modified versions of microstrip that are shown in the second and third figure. On a PCB, if there are, we have seen the conductors are in terms of copper cladding. So if you consider two different conductors of copper, then it can be considered as a microstrip transmission line because it's transmitting a signal. So the tracks which are available on the PCBs are called as microstrip transmission lines. So again, we'll define this all the transmission line. First, we have seen this two-wire transmission line. It is also called as open wire transmission line, and it consists of a parallel conducting wires separated by uniform distance. The two-wire transmission lines are very simple, low cost, and easy to maintain over short distances, and these lines are used for a frequency up to 100 megahertz. So another name of this open wire transmission line is parallel wire transmission line. Second, coaxial transmission line. In coaxial transmission line, two conductors are coaxially placed and filled with dielectric material such as air, gas, or solid. The middle conductor is signal carrying conductor, and the outer conductor is grounded conductor, and in between these two, gas or air is present. The frequency increases when losses in dielectric increases. The dielectric used is polyethylene. The coaxial cables are used up to 1 gigahertz frequency, and this type of wire carries high frequency signals with low losses. Generally used for CCTV systems, digital audios, computer networks connection, etc., internet connection, and in television and cables, etc. Then after that, the next thing is optical fiber transmission line. The figure is in the next slide. So we'll discuss optical fibers here. So this category here shows optical fiber transmission line, where the signal is transmitted in terms of optical signal, means it is a light signal. It is changing its amplitude according to the, or it's changing its intensity of the light is changing with respect to the amplitude of the signal. So this optical cable is invented by Narendra Singh in 1952, and it is made up of silicon dioxide or silica, which is used to send signal over a long distance with little loss of signal and at higher speed of light. The optic fibers are used for as light guides, imaging tools, lasers, surgeries, used for data transmission, and also used for in wide varieties of industrial and commercial applications. The next category, it is microstrip transmission line. We have heard this name earlier in previous PPTs. So what is that? The microstrip transmission line is a transverse electromagnetic wave transmission line. TEM transmission line. There are two modes of operation. One is TEM and another one is TM. Transverse magnetic and transverse electromagnetic. Invented by Robert Barrett in 1950. A microstrip is a type of transmission line that consists of a conductor fabricated on dielectric substrate with a grounded plane. So here The diagram shows that this conductor is fabricated on some dielectric material whose dielectric constant is given by epsilon r. The strip is so designed that the field is concentrated at one end here, as shown by this green and blue lines. The microstrip line consists of a conductor of width W, so this is width and this is its length, and the thickness is D. So this is the thickness. Let us see the closer look of this figure. So thickness is very small, this much is their thickness, this is width, and this whole is length. The presence of dielectric concentrates the field lines in the region between the conductor and the ground plane. So this is the below is the ground plane, and the field is concentrated between this conductor and the ground plane. So with the fraction being in air region above the conductor, leading to quasi-TEM modes of propagation in which dispersion occurs as a function of wavelength. So little less dispersion occurs here, and hence these are the microstrip. These are known as microstrip. The strip is the width of the strip is very small, so it is known as microstrip transmission line. Generally used for in microwave communications. And the next type is of transmission line is waveguide. What is waveguide? These are rectangular structures with uniform cross-sectional areas, and they are transmitting electromagnetic waves by successive reflections from inner walls. So the electromagnetic wave is sent inside this rectangular structure, and it is guided by this structure from one end to the other end. So it is known as waveguide. The wave travels through reflection from the walls of the waveguide. Okay, and fiber optics we already shown earlier. So waveguide and optical fibers, these transmission lines are used to transmit signal which are very high frequencies, which are above some several gigahertz. In optical fibers, light waves travels through optical fiber cable and by bouncing off the walls of the cable repeatedly. Each light particle, that is photon, bounces down the pipe with continued internal mirror-like reflections. Signal is transmitted in terms of light. It also consists of a core and then a cladding and then coating for the buffer. So it looks like a transparent strip of wire, very thin in shape, like a hair, and these are used to transmit laser signals for in surgery or in any other applications for decorative applications and so on. So the length of the transmission line is affected by the distance lambda. So what is lambda? First let us see. The signal wavelength, that is known as lambda, is physical distance it will propagate in time of span of one period. And its simple formula for lambda is equal to small v divided by f, where small v is what? Velocity of light. This means lambda is inversely proportional to the frequency. So if I want to send small frequency signal, then my lambda is more, right? My lambda is more. So may require I may require a length which should be very smaller than the lambda. So if, for example, for conventional circuit theory, that is the electrical circuits which are operating up to several kilohertz signal, 100 kilohertz and so, the lambda is obviously very high. So the length of the transmission line should be very low. Okay, and these are completed by the wire line or twin type wire line transmission line. So if the lambda is high, then the length of the wire will be small and the signal will be limited to 100 kilohertz. Then next, if the frequency increases from several megahertz to 100 gigahertz, then you can go for coaxial cables or waveguides, because in that case lambda is comparable to the length. So we can use longer transmission lines which are comparable with lambda distance. And these kind of coaxial cables and waveguides are used in microwave engineering, where the frequency of the signals is in between 1 megahertz to 100 gigahertz. Right. Then next, for again higher frequency above several hundred gigahertz, we require some fiber optics. And for those where the lambda is very small because the frequency is very high, and if the lambda is small, then the length should be high. So in 1 meter, several lambdas are occupied, like that. So we can transmit high frequency signal using fiber optic cables where length is very higher than the distance lambda. So this is about the how to design or how to select the transmission line. So in if you consider simple transmission line circuit, then it consists of a generator circuit where the signal is generated. In this figure, VG is known as source signal, which is generator signal. ZG is generator impedance, okay, or source impedance, and A dash is a sending port where the signal is generated and it is sent into the transmission line. So this box gives a transmission line model, and then at the other end of the transmission line we have a receiving end or the load, which is known as ZL. So at B dash side we give that signal from transmission line to the load. This side, the left hand side is known as sending side and the right hand side is known as receiving side. Now we have seen that a simple transmission line is represented like this. But if you consider what are the inputs of the transmission line or what are the internal parameters of the transmission line, whenever we took two wires and we send some signal through those wires, then whether the signal is propagating as it is from one end to another end, no, sometimes it will not propagate as it is. Sometimes there will be some losses. If you transmit 10-volt amplitude, then we may not receive 10-volt amplitude at the receiving side. The amplitude may decrease, the frequency may be distorted, there may be phase shift. So all these things are happening. So this is investigated and it is found that a transmission line consists of all these parameters. Which parameters? Capacitance, inductance, resistance, and conductance. Okay, so a transmission line is represented in these in terms of these parameters like this. So it is a model of the transmission line in terms of lumped parameters. These are known as lumped parameters because they are repeated at every unit distance per kilometer or per meter, like that. So there are four types of parameters, major parameters available in a transmission line, for any transmission line, and those are resistance, inductance L, capacitance C, and G means conductance. Okay, capacitance and conductance are in parallel in between two lines, so they are called as shunt capacitance and shunt conductance. But the resistance and inductors are in series, and hence they are known as series parameters. Okay, so there are four basic parameters: resistance, inductance, capacitance, and shunt conductance. This is a distributed model of a transmission line. How transmission line is represented in terms of circuit parameters. This is shown in this diagram. So consider, so these parameters are divided into two parts. One is primary parameters, or which are giving us primary constant, primary values, and secondary values or secondary constant. So consider a long transmission line consisting of two parallel uniform conductors carrying current. There is a magnetic field around the conductors and there is a voltage drop along them. So the existence of magnetic field indicates that the lines have series inductance. whenever we transmit current through the wires, magnetic field is generated by Faraday's law. We know that. And as magnetic field generated means there should be some kind of conductance present, and that conductance is known as series conductance inductance L. Right. So in this diagram, L is shown in series, and there is a voltage drop. So this means there is a presence of resistance. Right. So these are the series parameter. Inductance and resistance are series parameters. And what are the effects of these primary constant on the transmission lines? The primary constant take into account both forward and return lines. They are constant in that they do not vary with voltage and current. However, they are frequency dependent to some extent. They are present whenever a signal transmitted from one end to another end and again from receiving end to the sending end back in backward direction. In both cases, they are present. Their values are constant, they will never change. But these are the frequency dependent. We know that inductance is frequency dependent parameter and capacitor is also frequency dependent parameter. The series resistance R increases with frequency as a result of skin effect. And what about the inductance? The inductance is almost independent of the frequency for open lines. Means if the last end of the line is not terminated in terms of some impedance, then it is inductance is independent of frequency because it is directly proportional to the frequency, but tends to decrease with increasing frequency for screened cables. The capacitance C is almost independent of the frequency, whereas the conductance G tends to increase with frequency because of increasing dielectric loss with increasing frequency. Okay, so capacitance is independent of frequency, but the they say that conductance G tends to increase with frequency. So conductance is reverse of that of inductance, we can say. Sorry, reverse of that of resistance, and it depends upon the frequency. How? Because it depends upon the dielectric losses. So it increases with frequency because of dielectric losses. The voltage applied across the conductor produces electric field between the conductor and charge them. This shows that the lines have shunt capacitance and shunt conductance. Shunt capacitance and shunt conductance. So hence R, L, G, C are called as primary constants of transmission line, where R is series resistance and it is measured in ohms per unit length, sometimes ohms per kilometer or ohms per meter. L is series inductance, it is measured in henries per unit length. C is known as shunt capacitance and it is measured in terms of farad per unit length. And G is shunt conductance or susceptance and it is measured in terms of susceptance per unit length, mho per unit length. Now let us define or let us briefly view these parameters, their definitions one by one. So the first parameter is inductance, and this is a series parameter because it is present in series uh, way, series path in a transmission line, and resistance is also present in series path. So what is line inductance? The current flow in transmission line induces magnetic flux. When the current in the transmission line changes, the magnetic flux also varies due to which EMF induced in the circuit. According to the Faraday's law, we know that whenever current is passed through a transmission line, flux is generated and it produces induced EMF. The magnitude of induced EMF depends upon the rate of change of flux. So, EMF produces in transmission line resists the flow of current. whatever EMF is induced, that will oppose the cause of change, cause of production of it. So it opposes the flow of current in the conductor, and this parameter is known as inductance. We know the basic definition of this inductance, and this inductance is measured in which unit? It is measured in henries per unit length or henries per kilometer, like that. Line capacitance is the second parameter. So it acts, air is acting as a dielectric metal in case of two wire conductor. So this dielectric metal constitutes a capacitor between the two conductors, because we know that capacitor means just two conductors in between running parallelly, and there is a dielectric metal in between them. So transmission line must have this capacitor effect. The dielectric medium constitutes the capacitor between the conductors, which stores the electrical energy or increase the capacitance of the line. The capacitance of the conductor is defined as the presence of charge per unit potential difference. So capacitance is negligible in short transmission line, whereas in long transmission line it is most important parameter. In effect, the efficiency, voltage regulation, power factor and stability of the system. It affects efficiency, voltage regulation, power factor and stability of the system. Efficiency of transmission. Voltage regulation means should not be much changes in voltage values from receiver end up to the from transmitting end up to the receiving end. Power factor means high percentage of the power transmitted from sending end to the receiving end should be higher. Then we can say that power factor is good. And stability of the system means there will not be any distortion in the system because of presence of capacitors. So these are the effects of this capacitance, presence of capacitance. Then the third parameter is shunt conductance. In this case, the air is acting as dielectric metal between the conductors. When the alternating voltage is applied to the conductor, some current will flow in the dielectric because the dielectric imperfections. Such current is known as leakage current. So whenever voltage is applied, current is flowing, and because that current flows because of imperfect dielectric material, and that current is known as leakage current. So leakage current depends upon the atmospheric condition and pollution like moisture and surface deposit. And because of that current, we can say there is a presence of conductance, shunt conductance. One more parameter we have left with resistance. So we know that the electrical resistance is a property of the substance due to which it restricts the flow of current due to the potential difference applied at the two ends, and it is measured in ohms. But for transmission line, it is measured in ohms per kilometer. Generally, the resistance of the object depends upon the material it is made up of. So insulators will have higher resistance like rubber and have low conductivity, while the objects which are made up of pure conductors like copper or metals will have very low resistance and high conductivity. So for example, wire's resistance is higher if it is long. Also, the resistance will depend upon the material cross-sectional area. So if you take a wire, then its resistance is higher if the length of the wire is, if it is very long and it is very thin, and the resistance is lower if it is very short and very thick. So these parameters are considered for overall effect on resistance. So for superconductors, the resistance is almost zero, but it is an ideal case. So generally for transmission line, conductors are used, metallic conductors are used. Generally copper wires are used in most of the cases. And its resistance is low, but we have to consider its effect. So we have to consider resistance per unit length. And so resistance is generally it is ratio of voltage divided by current, we know it. It is measured in ohms, but on transmission line it is, now we are going to measure it in terms of ohms per kilometer. After seeing all primary constant, that is R, L, G and C, we are going to see next secondary constant, which are characteristic impedance Z0 and propagation constant gamma. These are the constant that depends upon the primary constant. Hence they are called as secondary constant. For any circuit, it consists of shunt and series impedances, because as we have L, R, G, C, we have series impedance as well as we have shunt impedance. So there is a overall input impedance present in for every transmission line, and it is different for different transmission line. For a transmission line, this is called as input impedance, and that depends upon the type of the line, its length, and its termination at the far end. That impedance is known as characteristic impedance of the transmission line. So, how it is defined? The characteristic impedance of a transmission line, that is Z0, is the impedance measured at the input of the line when its length is finite. So, characteristic impedance for finite length transmission line is measured as an input parameter or input impedance at the sending side, and it is measured in ohms. The second constant or secondary constant is propagation constant gamma. We already know that propagation constant will have is expressed in terms of attenuation constant and phase constant. Attenuation constant is nothing but alpha and phase constant is nothing but beta. And gamma is equal to alpha plus j beta. Gamma is measured as propagation constant, and it is also, we have seen this parameter in case of electromagnetic waves, and this is also applicable for transmission line. So transmission line has its own propagation constant gamma per, and it is measured in per kilometer unit. We are going to derive some expression for this Z0 and gamma in terms of RLGC for a particular transmission line. So a transmission line electrical model can be drawn like this, where Vs is source side and Zs is source impedance and ZL is load impedance. But we are going to express distributive model of the transmission line, distributed circuit model for the transmission line, where we are going to represent these all primary constant, that is R, L, G and C, along the length of the line. So again, this Vs and Zs are source voltage and source impedance at the input side, see here at the left hand side, and resistance as it is measured in per meter or per kilometer units, it is expressed as a series parameter. L is also expressed as a series parameter, so they are present in series branch, and inductance and conductance are present as a parallel parameters. Okay, and they are measured in terms of per unit length, per unit length. So if I consider R into delta X, means it is in a transmission line resistance. L into delta X means transmission line inductance, right? And these resistance and inductance are because of law of current I, and conductance and capacitance are because of the voltage. These are voltage parameters and these are current parameters. So each transmission line is divided into lumped parts or units. Each unit is having length delta x or dx. For each delta x, we have a resistance and inductance in series and capacitance and conductance in parallel. And this dx is repeated along the length of the transmission line up to the receiving end. At the receiving end, we have total impedance ZL, or which is load, which is known as load impedance. So R into delta X is resistance measured in ohms. As delta X is multiplied means it is ohm meter. So R is generally in ohm per meter multiplied by meter. So it is in terms of ohms only, like that. So this model is known as distributed circuit model of a transmission line. Now we are going to use this model to derive the expression of transmission line, equation of transmission line in terms of all lumped parameters.